President Biden delivered 30 executive orders in his first 2 days in office. One of them is using FEMA to continue the rollout of the vaccine. The plan is to operate about 100 federally run mass sites across the country, capable of vaccinating up to 2,500 to 6,000 people per day per site. It is an ambitious plan that should be up and running within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And with more on FEMA's role during the pandemic, we say hello to a good friend of the program, Mark DeVoe, who is the former federal coordinating officer with FEMA and Homeland Security. Mark, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Frank. Good morning.
Good morning. I guess my first question is, what took so long?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, there's been quite a bit of work that's been done in terms of PPE, personal protective equipment being brought in, 260 flights that FEMA coordinated, plus a lot of other things. But I think the new president has put a priority on this. Now, we want to keep it in perspective. We've heard so much about COVID-19 that we start to get a little bit dull by this, but keep in mind, 417,000 people have died from COVID-19 in the United States. That's more than in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam, both soldiers and civilians. And we keep growing. So there's great concern about not only people's lives, but the economic impact, the social impact. And so that's why you see the president taking on what he calls a wartime effort to be able to combat COVID-19. The vaccine centers are part of that.
Tell us how the FEMA operation will work and just how big an undertaking is this?
It's the largest undertaking ever in the history of the United States. Now, keep in mind what the president has done is he said, FEMA, we want you to coordinate this, but that does not mean FEMA's operating by themselves. They're going to coordinate with the Department of Defense, CDC, National Institutes of Health, Health and Human Services, by the way, which is being run by the old Attorney General from California, Mr. Becerra. And so it is a whole of government approach to try and get a hold of this logistically, and they're asking for 100 vaccination centers in the next 30 days across the country.
And how will FEMA allocate its resources? California is a pretty big state. Where will we rank in terms of immediate need?
Well, what you saw earlier in the broadcast is that there are mass vaccination centers being stood up by different entities, health agencies, health departments, health plans. So California's doing pretty good. The key is to prioritize those areas of the country where the disease is, the outbreak of that virus is so critical that they're trying to tamp it down. Now, keep in mind, there isn't enough vaccine to go around. So part of this equation is also to assign somebody from FEMA to handle the supply coordination using the Defense Production Act to ramp up the production of vaccine, as well as the ancillary tools that are necessary, vials, syringes, personal protective gear for those people injecting the shots. So it's an all-encompassing approach.
Let's talk about the ICU capacity here in the Bay Area. It's made a big jump in the last few days. It's now at 23.4%. It was around 6% earlier in the week. So adding these mass vaccine sites, well, that's great news because we might be getting back to some sort of normal life again, I would imagine.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? So people can visit their families and they can go out and go bowling or whatever they want to do. I'm a little suspect of the numbers to jump from 6% capacity to 23% in 24 hours. I'm not sure, because that'd be the largest jump we've seen since this pandemic broke out. But nonetheless, if that's the direction we're going, if the shelter in place is working, that's all good news. But we know we've got to get 75% of the population of the country vaccinated to be able to have herd immunity. Otherwise, we're going to get into this second wave. And the pandemic in 1918 that killed so many people, that was part of the problem, was a second wave due to a new mutant virus. And so they want to be able to try and address that with the vaccination program as quickly as they can.
I know you're a former battalion chief in Alameda County down there in Fremont. I'm sure you're in touch with some of your colleagues. With the rollout having some issues, have those first responders been vaccinated? And if not, they've got to be a little frustrated, I would imagine.
Yeah, many of them have been vaccinated, but we're also seeing areas, I think the Oakland Police Department was concerned about their personnel not being vaccinated. So there is some concern about who is and who isn't. And that adds to the concern about the efficiency and the effectiveness across the board. That's one of the reasons the president wants an all-concerted, coordinated, communicated effort led by the federal government in partnership with state and local health departments to be able to make sure the efficiencies of where the vaccine's going, who's getting it, keeping track of that, just having a little bit more coordination than where we are right now.
All right, Mark, lots to talk about, but we got to end it right there. We're out of time, but I want to thank you, of course, the former federal coordinating officer with Homeland Security and FEMA. Thank you so much, Mark, for your insight today.
Oh, yep, it's my pleasure, Frank. It's good to talk with you. Have a great day.